everyone, I'm Els and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I didn't realise this, but it's been 2 months since I last posted, mostly because I overestimated myself and how much I'd be able to do on top of exam season and moving back home and what have you. But I'm home now. Yay. So I'm able to make YouTube videos again, which is good. And I'm going to be basic and do the mid-year freakout tag, because why not? So I've gone through my notes and found out what I did for last year's, and I'm already feeling mediocre because, okay, I'm doing this slightly later than I did last year and I've read less books. Last year, by that point, I'd read 114 books. I've only read 85, so I'm feeling pretty mediocre. Because I know for normal, that's a good amount to read, but I read a lot this year compared to last year, and compared to my usual I have, but that's because exams have been really stressful. And then unread books on my shelves. I've recently counted up how many books I've got on my shelves. So if you hear the total number, then the amount that I haven't read is slightly better, but the amount I haven't read is slightly embarrassing because it's a huge amount. I mean, it's less than some people. So altogether, I've got 556 books on my shelves, and out of all of those, I haven't read 169 of them. So yeah, I'm going on a book buying ban this summer. I'm not going to buy myself anything. I mean, my boyfriend's already bought me a book since I said that, and I was like, cool. Well, it doesn't break the book buying ban if someone else gets it. Anyways, on to the questions. So the first question was, what's the best book? Your favourite book that you've read so far? And mine I read an ebook of, so I don't have a physical copy, but I'll hold up a photo from Storygraph. Woo! Oh my gosh, I'm so good at technology, woo! But yeah, this is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and it's a time travel sci-fi kind of thing where our black main character is drawn back in time frequently whenever this little boy in the past needs her help, and you go and find out how she's treated back in this time, while also trying to help this little boy who's in a much more privileged position than she would be in, going back to that time, and so on. And yeah, it's a very interesting sort of take on time travel, because it exposes quite a few issues that are still relevant now, such as racism, obviously. And yeah, she finds some stuff out about her family and where she came from and so on, which is super interesting. So yeah. That's my favourite book that I read. I really recommend it, by the way. For me, it was the perfect place to start with Octavia E. Butler's books, because she is an incredible, incredible author. I still have to read The Parable of the Sower, which I think is going to be really interesting but really scary, because it involves the climate crisis, which we're going through right now. Anyways, next question. If you keep hearing sniffling, by the way, I'm sorry, I've got a bit of a cold, I've got hay fever, so I promise you some of these books I will have physical copies of. But the second question is, what's the best sequel that you've read this year? I haven't read any sequels, but I have continued on some series. So this one I read back in January, and I absolutely loved it. It's Winter, the 4th book in the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, and Lunar Chronicles are a series where they retell and combine a bunch of different fairy tales into a sort of sci-fi universe, which I think is super, super interesting. This is the fourth and final book in the main series, and I absolutely loved the conclusion. I loved it because things got resolved, and yeah, I just loved it. I also loved the new characters introduced and the development of all the previously introduced characters. I loved it. I don't want to share too much in case there are spoilers, but I adored how the series concluded, and I even went on to read the spin-off books. There's a collection of short stories from a bunch of different characters' perspectives, and there's also a story from the villain's perspective, which I thought was quite interesting as well. But yeah, that was my favourite sequel slash series read that I've read. Next thing on here, I actually have a physical copy of, and it's new release that I have to read. When I saw this in Waterstones, I literally freaked out. I mean, it wasn't a Waterstones close to me, it was up in Scotland, so I didn't have to worry about people I knew coming up to me and be like, why is this girl freaking out in the fantasy section of Waterstones? I was like, oh my goodness, it's finally out. But this is The Bone Shard Emperor by Andrea Stewart, which is a sequel to The Bone Shard Daughter, which I have been long awaiting, because ever since I listened to the audiobook and read the first book, I've been so excited ever since I found out that the sequel was coming out for it, because I absolutely loved the first book. I loved it. Oh my goodness, the twist is crazy. The characters are lovely. I love the magic system. Magic system's so creative and so incredible and so unique. Basically, people use these bone shards to create these entities to perform things for them that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. It's a really interesting form of magic, and yeah, I'm so excited to continue the story and follow wherever it ends up going next. Next on the list is most anticipated read. I've interpreted this question slightly differently, as in book I'm so excited about that I'm too scared to read. Even though I've had this book for a year now, nearly. Yeah. No, like a whole year pretty much. I've had this book for a year. And I haven't read it. Every time I picked it up, I've been emotional and been too scared to pick it up. Because I absolutely loved the first book in this series. So this is the second book in the Mistborn trilogy. This is The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. And oh my goodness, look at this gorgeous edition. Yeah. The Waterstones near me didn't have it, so they ordered it in for me, and I had no idea what kind of edition it would look like. See if I can find my copy of the first book that I got. Also very pretty. This is the first book, and it's a paperback. It's very pretty. I love all the editions. Can I squeeze this back on my shelf? There we go. I managed. But yeah, I've been really anticipating it, but I haven't read it because I'm too scared. Oh, I don't want any characters that I love to die, and I'm scared that will happen because, yeah. Anyway, it's a high fantasy story. The magic system involves the ingestion of different metals, and you get different powers from each different type of metal, which is super interesting. In the first one, there was a sort of revolution to overthrow this dodgy sort of government, the people in power, and yeah, we sort of left it on a high point, a moment of high tension, so that's why I'm scared. Anyways, next question. Enough talking about this one. Okay, this one I'm grateful for Storygraph for, because my mind's awful at remembering books that I don't really care about that much. So I've gone in and I found my lowest rated book. This question is most disappointing book, so I've gone for my book that I've rated the lowest, and that is Sweet Tooth by Ian McEwan. I think I still have a copy of it somewhere, but I'm gonna get rid of it because I didn't enjoy it. Basically, in sixth form, I read Atonement, and it was really well written, it was really cool, but I absolutely hated it because of the narrator. The narrator was horrible, an awful person that ruined the lives of so many people around them. So I was like, okay, well, the writing was cool, maybe I will like, or possibly reading another book of his might change my mind. It did not. This was a dull detective story to me. I did not find any interest in it whatsoever, and so I was really disappointed because the other book, while it evoked a huge negative emotion in me, it made me feel something. This book, the one that I'm talking about here, made me feel nothing. I felt nothing. And I kept reading it. I didn't DNF it because I thought, oh, maybe it will change. Maybe there'll be a cool twist and it'll be super interesting. But that wasn't for me. Just wasn't my thing, I'm afraid. This one I borrowed from the library, so yet again, I don't have a physical copy of it. This question is, what's the biggest surprise out of all of those that you've read? And for this, I've got 6 Renaissance Tragedies, edited by Colin Gibson. It was incredible. I wasn't expecting to find these so funny because they're so melodramatic. Like, the Jacobean writers were crazy. They just made everything incredibly melodramatic, and I found it absolutely hilarious, incredibly entertaining. It had me hanging on every word through all of the stories because it was just so entertaining, and that's also rare for me because if there's a collection of stories, there's usually going to be like one that I love and then the rest are just a bit meh, but I'd say all of these I found entertaining. There was a few I found more entertaining than others, but I loved them all. I thought they were so funny, so much fun, so dramatic, and I love that. Okay, for this next question, I'm not entirely sure how to answer because, okay, this is what my list of most read authors looks like. See? Huge list. And all the same amount. But basically all this shows to me is that I'm finally starting to read more graphic novels, which is amazing. My most read one would be Brian Lee O'Malley, who wrote the Scott Pilgrim books, because I went to Comic-Con dressed as Ramona Flowers, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'd better read the books before I go. I can't just do something based off of a film and comics to Comic-Con and not know the comics. So I read those. I mean, I'll show you guys the other kind of things I've read. I've also started Berserk as well, which is really cool. Absolutely brutal. Oh my goodness, there are so many graphic, scary moments, but it's still really cool. Any other things? A bunch of these are editors from things. Ari North, who wrote Always Human, which is super, super cute. You can read it on Webtoon. I love Webtoon so much, honestly. I could rave about Webtoon forever. Oh yeah, I've also read the first 2 volumes, really, of fables. I started reading the third, and then there were some mature content bits that I didn't feel comfortable reading, so I probably won't continue the series. I might if I actually grow a backbone, but who knows, who knows. So this next prompt I couldn't actually find anything for. The prompt is a book that made you cry. None of these books have made me cry this year. I mean, I'm not the type of person that really cries to books anyway, so it was quite difficult to find, but I'm gonna shift the prompt a bit to make it be a book that's very emotional, and to that I recommend Mother Courage and Her Children by Bertolt Brecht, which is a story set in the 30-year war in Russia. It follows this woman who is a mother and her children, and how she profits off of the war. It really exposes hard truths of capitalism, of wartime. It sort of deals with grief in a really interesting way. Yeah, I just think it's a really interesting read. So, I mean, it's well known, so I'm not giving it any more hype than it already has. The next prompt is a book that made you happy, and for this I've got The Way of the Argosy by Sebastian de Castell. One of my favourite series is the Spellslinger series by Sebastian de Castell, and this is a sort of spin-off of the series, so it made me really happy to return to this series and see. It follows one of the characters who was not a main character in the original series, and it's super interesting to follow this character before the events of when we meet her in the actual series. I mean, this is an actual series, but in the original series, so yeah, that made me happy. The next question is most beautiful book that you have bought/received. And this one's going to be difficult because I've got so many pretty books. Okay, it can only be ones that I bought since January though. So, let's have a look. Okay, I think I've decided on Afterlove because I love the colours, I love the patterns, I think it's really pretty, so I'm gonna go with that one. I've got so many pretty books, but I haven't bought many since January, so I'd say that's the prettiest one that I bought this year. The final question is books I need to read by the end of the year. And I don't necessarily need to read any, but I'll show you guys some stuff that I'm planning on reading. So I've currently got these two books out from the library, so it'll be good to finish those. This first one is The Complete Plays of George Bernard Shaw, which I love because Pygmalion's my favourite play ever. And this one's the Encyclopedia of Science Fiction, which is super cool for me because I'm getting more and more into science fiction. I mean, I started with dystopians and I've gone from there into more sci-fi stuff, so yeah, this is fun. I haven't started either of them yet because I've read a lot of library books over the year and haven't gotten onto those yet, so there's that. I'm currently in the middle of two books though, I'll show you guys. I'm in the middle of Six Crimson Crames by Elizabeth Lim, so I'm gonna try and finish this by the end of the week because oh my goodness, it's gorgeous. I only got like 20 pages in, but it's absolutely lovely so far. It's so cute. And I'm also partway through The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley, which my mum's lending me. I read like the first 100 pages ages ago, But yeah, so far it's really wholesome, so it's nice to read a wholesome book every now and again. However, I do like my dramatic stuff as well. Oh, forgot to mention online books as well. Crazy. Alright, let's go on to my BorrowBox app. Library Plus is loading. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm halfway through To All the Boys I've Loved Before, book 1, and it's quite cute. It's very similar to the film. So, yeah, there's that. And I'm also partway through Convenience Store. It's a really short audiobook, so I've been reading bits of it before going to bed at night, and it's been really interesting. Sorry, my screen froze for a second. Anyways, those are all the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you might stick around for a future one. Maybe even subscribe, possibly, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, I hope you guys have a nice rest of your day, and I'll hopefully see you soon for another video. Bye!